It's another episode of the Spies Like Us podcast, the podcast where we talk about the representation of tradecraft on screens large and small. We're back to the small screen, continuing our discussion about the new IPCRESS File TV series from ITV, episode 5, of course. If you are watching week by week, which is an option for people in Britain, you would have seen this episode earlier this week. With me, as always, is Dave.
What up?
What up, Dave?
I am loving this show.
You're loving the show. Anything you want to start out with on this one?
No, there's a lot of stuff I think I want to chat about, but I think it's mostly story stuff or interesting history stuff, or I think there's a couple bits of tradecraft I want to touch on, but I think it's more getting us towards that big climax because it's heating up a little bit.
Did you catch a very small reference to the Cambridge 5?
No.
Yeah.
I did catch the that CIA guy's homie veteran that was angry.
Okay, yeah.
And he was angry that JFK didn't send the squadron of F-15s or whatever. That would be an allusion to Bay of Pigs.
Largely believed that it was a lack of air cover that tanked that mission. Also, I guess some questions about the security of intelligence, the secrecy of the mission. I think there's theories that the Cubans really knew that we were coming and exactly where.
Right.
Hey, good note to mention, because somewhere along the way, especially as a comparison to the movie, the series is steeped a lot more in the historical events of the 60s.
Than the original? Yeah.
Yeah. The movie just is kind of disconnected from anything really.
Yeah.
Except general Cold War stuff. But here we have like legit actual events like Bay of Pigs, like the testing of the neutron bomb. Uh-huh. Of course, it's a feature of, you have the benefit of hindsight when you're right in the middle of historical events. A lot of times, I guess it's kind of hard to have a take on them that you want to put directly into your storyline,
Right. Yeah.
The dust hasn't really settled.
Yeah. Exactly.
But hey, so before I forget, I kind of want to mention too just some ongoing loose thread kind of things that I'm still wondering about. Like there's two events where Gene and Harry tried to nab Randall and he was forewarned and forearmed long way back when they visited the house where they were putting the IPCRESS file technique presumably on the scientist Dawson. He knew they were coming, and at that point, me being still thinking, well, Dalby was a bad egg in the movie, and they told him about it right before they went. That I still have that lingering thought, like, could it have been Dalby that told him they were coming? And then still too with so now I understand better the thing that happened in Lebanon, where we know now that it was U.S. people that showed up wanting very much to look like Soviet agents to stop them from grabbing Randall there. Another question, how did the Americans know about it? We haven't been given, I'm just saying there's some threads out there that, suggest that there's a leak. And I mention it because the show kind of is trying sort of to make us doubt different characters, but it's kind of weird because I implicitly trust Harry Palmer. I can't imagine that there's going to be a version of this story where it turns out he was the traitor. And especially after this episode, right? Because he gets
He gets nabbed up.
He gets the business end
Yeah.
of the cattle prod.
Yeah, very much so. That's the kind of the majority of the episode is watching him go through the treatments. But to respond to your thing that like how did Americans know? There was the interaction with British intelligence talking about the missing scientists. I think there's a lot more that American intelligence had known that they shouldn't have, but I think the missing scientist is there.
That's true. That's true. Well, of course, the Americans know that the scientist is missing because they're the ones that took the scientist.
But before they took him, right? Didn't he go missing before that, or did they? Oh, they took him from the beginning.
Or wait, well, not from the beginning, because in this one, Randall is he's just a mercenary. He's playing.
Yeah, he's like a lone wolf, right?
And
he's holding him hostage for some of that money, right? And I think British intelligence interacts with American intelligence and is like, hey, let's make a trade. We really want this very important person. Can you help us? So I'm sure there's like an exchange of information. And my guess is at some point, American intelligence was like, hey, this guy could really help us out on the neutron bomb. And then we could just wipe his shit with this IPCRESS stuff. So that's my guess, even though that's not explicitly stated. But
we also know that Maddox has worked with Randall in the past.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, Randall seems to be that free agent. Like in sports, there's like that free agent. And I'm sure that is in the like you watch the old noir private eye, TV or film, and there's always like some guy that the private eye can rely on at a bar, like just some degenerate type that he could give him like $50 and get information from,
Yeah.
I'd like to think there's people like that in the intelligence community, world, universe, place. And I guess that's what Randall kind of gives me, that kind of, feel like he's just trying to cash out and take his girl and her son or their son somewhere where they can live a lavish life. So he's just kind of, I just see him as kind of a free agent. So I'm sure he's worked with everybody, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, Grok, I can never remember his name except that it ends with Ock.
Oh, Stock.
Stock.
Yeah.
Stock mentioned that Randall had tried to sell the scientist to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does look like the scientist nabbing immediately was just for profit, but eventually he ends up in the hands of the Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Early in this episode, we see that Dawson has. It might even be the first thing that happens. We see that he's been released, with no clothes, which is I don't know, like
what is it with like mind control and like underground testing and shit that people always end up naked?
Put some clothes on that guy.
I know, right?
But it's not clear if he escaped and if he was released, like why?
Right.
What would be the point of that? I don't know. Palmer's not going to get really much to do in this episode at all, unless you find the torture and IPCRESS technique stuff interesting enough to talk about. That's pretty much all he does.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to talk about it now or if you want to move on.
Let's get that out of the way.
Okay. Well, first of all, I love the China connection. Basically, the Americans just threw Palmer to China, and they start running the IPCRESS. There's the scene with Maddox and that other like nuclear general guy, not like the stick up his ass guy, but the guy that's like a true patriot, the newly saved Christian
Catholic
general. Yeah, that guy. He was like, truly, there must be a use for someone like him, right? Someone that had a bad military record and and stuff like that, and is angry and shit. So my guess is that. The reason why I really wanted to talk about the IPCRESS in the show compared to the film gave me that very typical like 60s, 70s mind control. It's coming, type of thing. Versus in the show, yeah, it's got the mind control, but man, this was straight up some MK Ultra stuff. And if you're not aware of MK Ultra, that was a program conducted by the CIA. I believe it was under Dulles to investigate or do research on the possibility and capacities of mind control. That being said, there are some interesting conspiracy theories that this show used. And one of those is that some of the discoveries of MK Ultra was that the use of like Pavlov's law and hypnosis, you could create basically a tool of someone that you could just kind of trigger later on with some sort of image or sound or something, and they could turn into an assassin. In fact, I think some people believe that John Lennon's assassin was what's it called?
Brainwashed.
Brainwashed, yeah, or used or some of this sort. Some people believe that that's what happened with him. There's a scientific word, like not seduced. Anyway, whatever. That's what some people believe, and so that's the plan here. Is instead of killing Palmer, they're going to use him to kill a high MI6 official, which I think is a bit of a spoiler, but just so you're not super bored or confused as to what's
Well, I
going
mean,
on.
that's what happened in the movie, so we're expecting something similar.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Um, so I just wanted to briefly touch on that because I thought that was interesting and bold of them to kind of just throw in there. And the IPCRESS acronym wasn't stupid this time. It was a little shaky towards the E and the SS.
I think
But
it's still a little shaky, dude.
yeah. But instead of being the title of a book and just pulled out of their ass, it was actually like the algorithm of performing this type of mind control. So that I think I wanted to touch on, other than the Easter egg of him using a nail in his nails. And it was a lot more cringy to watch this time than it was in the film, where, the old days, just pain will break any brainwashing technique ever convinced of, ever. So his plan is to stick a nail under his nail to give him an excruciating amount of pain to avoid the conditioning. And then he escapes. I call bullshit on the escape, but
How do you mean?
like he pretends to be passed out, and he's been digging the nail in to keep himself like conscious and not be conditioned. And then the two guys carrying him out, he beats up and he runs out. This facility seems like pretty high secure, so I'd like to think running down a hall and getting into an elevator is a little too few steps for him to get out. You know what I mean? And does he end up in England? It looks like he's not even in China, that they feigned this whole China thing.
Yeah, that also tracks with the movie. I mean, except in the movie, it wasn't China.
Right.
And, they never said they were in China. You assumed that.
Right. Racist me assuming they're in China when he's got Chinese letters on his clothes, and there's obviously a bunch of Chinese like doctors and soldiers. Oh, by the way, the guy that played the head doctor during the IPCRESS conditioning or stuff, man, that guy was great. He played a really good sociopath. You know what I mean?
I wasn't as impressed, but okay.
Yeah, like versus do you there's that meeting with Maddox and Jean. Do you have a note on that? When he brings the file when she's asking like where the fuck is Palmer?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
I wanted to compare that, but if you want to go into more depth with that, that would be. Do you want me to wait on that, or should I? Because I want to make a comparison to that moment and the doctor's conditioning.
Well, I'll set it up. You knock it out.
Okay. Yeah.
This is Maddox is still pursuing recruitment of Jean. Again, I don't know. I guess I don't really know why he's doing that, but okay. It gives them a reason. It gives them a reason to talk.
Right.
He knows she's going to be interested in finding out what he knows about what happened to Palmer, who, of course, she last saw on the island, and knew that Maddox and the CIA people were highly suspicious of him, and she doesn't know. She doesn't know what's happened. She hasn't heard anything except that. Well, although now that I mention it, it's kind of funny that she needs a new place to stay. Alice gives her Palmer's old residence, and she misses the opportunity, and she's like, wait, that's Harry's. And Alice is like, oh, he's not going to be needing it for a while.
Mhm.
And that seems like a good time to say, well, what do you know about it, Alice? What does that mean?
Right.
Right. If you
Yeah.
want information, there's somebody that knows something. And
Yeah.
now that I mention it, I don't know what Alice knows because Jean doesn't ask her. But Maddox has got this covered. He shows her a file that's, in a report.
Super thin.
Well, yeah, super thin, but you didn't. He didn't expect her to want the whole family
Right.
jewels.
Right. Yeah.
This is just a report on what happened to Palmer that day.
Oh, I thought he was trying to claim this is Palmer's folder. Oh, never mind. That's just the file of what happened to him. Okay.
Right.
That
So
makes me feel a little bit better.
Their cover story, which we know is a cover story because we see what actually happened to Harry Palmer, but they make it look like he found a guy that looked an awful lot like him, knocked that guy out, and took his passport, and and that passport can be tracked doing a circuitous route around and then back to England. So the implication is that he fled because he's guilty of their suspicions of him being a Soviet agent. But to me, I'm still like, and Jean is probably also still like, yeah, but he also could have fled because you were falsely accusing him of being a Soviet agent. Like either way,
Right.
getting out of there seems like a good move. But the tricky part would be, he's making it seem like he's returned to England, and if that was the case, then why hasn't he contacted her? So that's the part of that little cover up story that I think is nicely done.
Absolutely. But I did want to really talk about the acting here.
Okay.
And that's why I brought up like the Chinese guy playing the sociopathic doctor. You know what I mean? Like just watching his face and that like smile he has, like I was thinking about this the whole time, like watching like those scenes with him, like, like especially since they just threw Palmer to China, to get the program ran on him. Like I'm sure in any country you could find somebody that is so like enthralled by scientific research or being the guy that does the research. This is a very typical villain story in like a film that they could convince to run a program like this, right? And I felt like this actor really got down like a lot of the like little details of like the smile, the tone, like how calm the tone was. Like Palmer's completely in their control. He's tied up, he's drugged, he's being what the hell is that word? He's being
conditioned.
Conditioned, but there's like a word like well, whatever. Like we'll just say he's being conditioned. And there's and you're just watching him, and it's not like he's just kind of like floating in these little seeds, constantly planting in. Like, hi, he's got this really uncomfortable smile, like those like that the type of smile like an Anthony Robbins smile or like a used car salesman smile, that really creepy, like uncomfortable smile. And he's just like, you're gonna feel some pain. We're gonna go through those moments. You killed a lot of people. It obviously affected you. I want you to go back there, and you're going to go through a lot of pain. But remember, when you kill the enemy, the pain's going to go away. He's like constantly planting these seeds, and he's just. I just want to talk about the actor, and I wanted to parallel this to Maddox, because Maddox is doing a very similar situation, but he doesn't have control of Jean. He has to convince Jean that the story that, I don't know, fucking Palmer fled, right? The only records that we have is that Palmer, under this pseudonym, flew to the airports here, and here, and then we lost his trail. So he might have gotten like a different passport, and that's all we got.
Right.
And like you watch the actor playing Maddox, and he's like pointing to the bullets in the folder. Now, she's already encountered in like like interacted with Maddox and like has witnessed his kind of sociopathic tendency and his capacities, right? You know,
Sure.
and like even though this kind of bothered me because usually like you could tell when someone's trying to lead you, like I would call that like leading like thing, like oh yeah, and you can see this, like they do an MLM or like like that's like mediocre sociopathy, right? Like oh hey like the Scientologists use when they're trying to get you to take their like IQ tests, type of thing where they're like just saying obvious shit, like oh hey look at this, oh did you notice this, and then they like deflect, but it's not like secretive or sneaky or natural, it's very robotic. But with this, even though he's doing the pointing at the bullet points, like his demeanor and his like tone seem very realistic. You know what I mean? And he's really selling the story to her to the point where I bet you that Palmer actually went to those airports and he doesn't need to lie because they needed to get him to that facility, right? So I'm wondering if they used that pseudonym to get him to the facility, and he's not he's like, by the way,
Oh,
here,
that's
look,
good. That's good stuff. That's good
here,
stuff. Because then especially it'll hold up under all but the most intense of scrutiny.
right, exactly. Like there's probably airport records that he could pull out. Like, yes, this person left. Here's a picture of that passport. It's yeah. Like, so I really wanted to just point out, like, we've been talking about the acting for this whole show, but just I wanted to parallel these two like moments of manipulation that I think were really, 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 really well portrayed by the actors. That they were very different. One type of manipulation had someone with full control, and the other one had to like seduce the manipulate type of thing. I guess is the best way to put it. And I don't know. I just really wanted to chime in on that because I've been blown away by the acting the whole show, and those were very specific ones I wanted to point out.
Interesting. I'll just say I don't really like Maddox's acting as much as a lot of other people. There's a real kind of I don't know, unblinkingness to a lot of the deliveries from a lot of the different actors that I don't super well respond to, and him in particular.
You mean like they're not blinking, or are you saying unblinkingness in like kind of like a?
Well, definitely they're not blinking.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm talking to you and I'm telling you what's happening, like looking directly, I've just locked your eyes contact, and I'm looking like super directly at you, while I'm saying whatever it is I want to say. Jean does it a lot. I like it when she does it. Maddox does it a lot. I don't like it when he does it. Cole and our boy Hollander don't do it, and I like that.
Like they blink.
They look more like they're in the moment.
I see.
Like, I see. It's just kind of like this enforced intensity that I don't know. Just I don't think he pulls it off as well. But enough about the acting.
Yeah,
I think we got enough too to kind of wrap up Jean. I don't think there's a lot to talk about here. Her role in this episode is just basically to follow up the IPCRESS lead. She goes back to the place where they had originally found the sound file and the movie projector and the dead scientist. She has interactions with Dawson. She even tries the tape out on him to see how it'll work out. She's reading up on it, like you said, she deciphers IPCRESS. All of this is just really very transparent setup for us to. We have to know that someone's getting closer to the truth, but it just feels like they just want to set us up so that whatever happens in episode 6, she can raise her little hand and say, hey, I think I know what might really be going on here. Like she's getting just enough of the stuff. She still doesn't know that it's connected to Harry at all. But she'll be armed with this information so that if Palmer does show up acting weird, she might have a suspicion why. I didn't have anything else to say about that. It's Dalby. Oh wait, no. Okay, great. Before we move off of Gene, so the first time we watched it, because I think I slipped out for a minute. I'd already seen the episode, and at the end of this episode, or somewhere, I asked you like, dude, what did you think about that speech where Gene explains tradecraft?
Mm-hmm.
And you said, what are you talking about? And, I couldn't find it. And I was like blown away that you didn't remember it because I thought it was crazy good. Did you catch it this time?
No.
Okay. We're putting a timestamp here. You have to watch it. We'll be right back. Okay, so you do know the speech I'm talking about.
Yes, last time you were saying there was like a speech about tradecraft that she gives, and it turned out that it wasn't in that. It's in this one. And it is a fantastic speech. I think, what is that, Palmer's ex-wife?
Yeah.
That she's talking to?
Mm-hmm.
And she tells the ex-wife that, well, I'm a spy, and that involves in exploiting people and manipulating them. And then she goes through a whole speech about how that process happens, which I think is cool because we're actually going to witness it happen with Dalby and Stock. But there's one quote I really liked about this, that we look for something to leverage.
Uh-huh. If
And,
they're
if
they're good,
they're honest,
if they're honest, we take advantage of their
decency.
their decency, and if they're dishonest, then we take advantage of their guilt.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, so super good. It was very powerful. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But other than that, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot for her to do. But I think
it was succinct and perfect, and it just laid it all out in a way that I don't know, like you wouldn't want that to be your motto on the wall of the CIA, but
no, not at all.
but for a podcast about spy stuff, it does the trick. So Dalby, which
this
is where
perfectly leads into Dalby, because we're actually going to watch this happen.
Yes. So Dalby's the most interesting story going on here. I still want to raise my little hand and say, as of yet, I still don't see how this story is going to intersect with our main story.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's right. We'll probably have to talk about that next episode if we do see any intersection.
Right. I mean, if there's not, I'm going to be mad. But we were annoyed by the Duck Duck Goose game of finding out Dalby was the traitor in the movie. Yeah. So here, if Dalby ends up, betraying his country, throwing Harry Palmer under the bus or something, at least this time we'll know why. Whereas the movie gave us nothing.
Yeah.
So there's that. Dalby, I don't remember his girlfriend's name. I don't think they even say it, and it's some Russian name, I think. But anyways, I'm just gonna call her his girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's back in London. She's petitioning for, I'm not sure what exactly, like what the legal technical term would be, restoration of citizenship, or no, maybe she's Russian in the first place.
And I think she's trying to get asylum.
So, okay, so she is defecting. That's it. I was confused. I thought she was like a British citizen that like went to Russia and then got captured, but no.
Oh, no, he met her in Russia.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and then she got arrested by Russian whatevers, and then was offered by Stock, and then Dalby took the offer but shot the guys and took her, whisked her away. Yeah,
yeah. He played a little dirty there. As part of her in debriefing.
I
I don't want to say interrogation. in interviewing, which I don't understand. I don't know why that's under Dalby's office, but then Dalby's office is a fictional one, so whatever.
Right.
But we got two of the spies are asking her about her concerns about repercussions versus her brother.
Right.
And she, seems innocent or naive to the idea that anything will happen to him at all. The report they eventually give to Dalby is that all the facts line up, but they just feel like she's lying about something. She's being emotionally dishonest is what they use. And so I think that's why it was important that they mentioned the brother, because I think that's where they're clicking into that. Now, of course, Dalby says, hey guys, thank you for that. I trust that in the final report, you're just going to stick to the facts. Nothing wrong with that. Of course, we know Dalby, definitely doesn't want any of that emotional dishonesty stuff coming through, because that would, could lead anyone to find out that, he's got a special interest in this woman, which is that he's in love with her.
Yeah.
On the side, the spy dude, whose also name I don't know, but he used to be Jean's partner before he got replaced with Harry for some reason. Oh, that's another thing too. At some point, I'm wondering, I feel like Harry's been in the field too long, or we've kind of forgotten that this was just supposed to be a temporary thing.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I would be interested in them coming and fleshing that out. I'm just tagging it, because I don't really care. I just want to see Harry Palmer in action. But Dude and Alice have a private conversation now about Dalby, and about how, well, now they think Dalby's acting weird, and Alice shares information that she's been able to glean, or at least hints that would lead one to think that Dalby does know the woman, but that they have kept their relationship secret all these years. It kind of looks like there's no way they couldn't have known each other, is the way she lays it out. So weird that he never mentioned her in any of his reports.
Right. They have overlapping contacts.
Right.
And so it's very clear that they probably should have met, but she's never met. He never mentioned her in any of his, which is super weird.
Correct. Dalby does tell his girlfriend about her brother. I guess that was an option, was just to not tell her.
Yeah.
But I guess, he wants, I guess he doesn't want any, he loves her. He doesn't want their relationship to be based on any pretenses or anything he held back, that could come to bite their relationship in the ass later. He does tell her, okay, your brother is probably fucked because of this. And she's like, well, I can't let that happen. I'll have to go back. And he says, well, no. There's, I don't want you to go back. I think there's another way. And he's going to try to bargain with Stock. And it's now that Dalby confesses what his real job is to his wife. And I'm not sure why he chooses this timing for that. She says, is there anything else? And they cut away dramatically before we get to hear the answer. But I'm guessing he's telling her that he's got a girlfriend. And I guess the next step would be so are we going to do the open marriage thing, or are we going to get divorced, or what? But yeah, he does go and ask Stock if there's anything they can do about this. You want to talk about it?
Oh yeah.
Good. All right.
No, absolutely. So pretty much Dalby meets with Stock to try and negotiate, I guess, the brother's life for freedom, or, and we get this really great scene with Stock running the whole process of flipping someone, especially at this higher level. You hear that like you're gonna betray your country line, and it kind of seems silly, when you watch it in the movies. But considering like Dalby's position, you got to make it clear what the terms are. Like, you're going to give me everything that crosses your desk. You're going to betray your country. And after a certain time, we'll bring you over and give you a medal and we'll be buddies and play chess. But I love how, you know, um, he makes it sound so not ridiculous because he starts out, he's like, this must be very hard for you because you're a patriot like me. Um, but you're also a realist. And this is what you want. You want your girlfriend to be safe and take her away, and you want the brother to live, the relatives to live happy, healthy lives without any knowledge of this. And I can do that for you. And you could have gotten that, except you chose violence. And when did he choose violence? It was when they were supposed to make the trade off before, and he shot the guys instead of giving over the info.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the great line: Stock goes, and you chose violence, but I forgive you.
Oh,
You know,
right. Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like every little step is an inch closer and closer and closer and closer to making it like more understandable and more like realistic to Dolby to basically betray his country. Like I really like that. And even Dolby says when he meets with his girlfriend after, he explains to her what he wants him to do, and he basically was like, I never thought it would look like this, but now it seems not so ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like it's the situation is that he's trapped and he can't really get out, and this is his only option, and that's kind of like what Gene was describing to Palmer's ex-wife, was that we try and find weaknesses with the people we're trying to manipulate, and we exploit those weaknesses. And this would be something if they're dishonest, we exploit their guilt, and I would think that would be what's going on here with Dolby. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I mean, stock up until now has been, I mean, and also I love this actor.
Yeah.
Uh, um, he's been kind of, I'm not gonna disarming a little
Yeah.
bit, like
Yeah.
kind of cute, a little bit of a charmer.
Right.
Um, he's not charming here. I like seeing the this is the phase where I don't have to fucking pretend anything's going on except what exactly is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he lays it out so distinctly and with no bullshit and not trying to candy coat it at all
Yeah, he's not
is,
being dishonest. He's not, he's just laying it right out, right?
well, that's because he's talking to Dolby,
Yeah, yeah.
like there's no reason for him to try to like fool Dolby into thinking, well, he's not really, with other assets it's like, you're not really betraying your country, you're doing a good service for your country or something like that. That's not going to work on Dolby, so why bother? And that was the reference to the Cambridge Five. I don't remember the names, but he says, you'll be like blank and blank. And I was like, okay, who are those names? Well, they're two of the Cambridge Five people.
Mm-hmm.
So he's being really explicit. He's saying
Mm-hmm.
like, you're gonna do that.
Right.
My other thought though is like, Dolby isn't actually trapped here. I mean, he's still voluntarily doing this because he wants to keep his girlfriend.
Right. He could like throw her under the bus, right? Or the brother, right? He could just take her and leave and let the brother die, right?
Well, she says she'll go back.
Oh, right, because she doesn't want her brother hurt, and she doesn't want Dolby to get in deeper. She'll just go back to
Right.
protect her brother. I
So
see.
he could let her make that choice.
Yeah.
But of course, it's after you take the step though. Like the first step is, that's when you're trapped because
Right.
then they have that on you, and it's pretty much over. I think yeah, that is everything I had to say about this episode. You got anything else?
No, I think we hit everything that I wanted to hit on and more. So, I all I know is I've been hella digging this. Yeah, I've been enjoying this show so much. It's definitely nice to get something like this. So, I'm excited to talk about episode 6 next week.
Sure. I wasn't super thrilled by this episode. I think this TV show hit its high point for me with the finale of episode 2, and it's been slowly declining in being super awesome since then, down to right now I would call kind of a low point. I mean, we do have to just get certain things set up and in motion for our big final episode. That really felt like that's mostly what we're seeing here. And the Dalby story, yeah, it's interesting to me and I like it, but the fact that so far it hasn't connected in any way to anything else that's going on is bugging me a little. But and then here's the thing about the final episode, which I'm gonna have to watch one more time, because even though I've seen it twice, both times by the time I got to the final episode, I was a little faded. And if I remember right, I think the final episode was kind of complicated and got out of my I lost the thread of what was going on. I think a whole bunch of people turn out to be lying about stuff, and I couldn't quite follow it all. Yeah. So, but it's going to get its final day in court with me next week. I'll make sure I watch it stone cold sober and take good notes. Yeah. And ask questions about anything I don't understand, and we'll see if the series sticks the landing, as I hope it does.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm just not sure right now.
I hope you like it as much as I do.
Okay, cool.
Because I definitely like it a lot.
All right. So that's next week. We'll see you then.
The preceding transmission sampled the song Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net.